Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is a masterpiece. I don't think it's that surprising that I say that, if you know me at all. It has everything I want in an RPG. An amazing cast of characters, music I can listen to endlessly, either for how hard it goes or how relaxing it can be, and a fantastic story that puts it all together. Project Rainfall was absolutely worth it. As no one could realize it at the time, it created an echo that has grown so much since that demanding beginning and has become a franchise that's on the radar for many an RPG fan. I'll talk about it properly one day, in the inevitable retrospective of the first game, but we have die-hard JRPG fans to thank for this franchise getting its own shot into becoming the juggernaut it has grown itself into. While Xenoblade X, unfortunately, was doomed to fail by virtue of being on the Wii U, the proper sequel to the first game didn't have to worry about being on a console failing to sell itself. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was released on December 1st, 2017. To the excitement of the, at the time, niche fanbase, the proper build-up, hype, and large audience of potential newcomers promised a chance at the franchise growing to heights never before expected by the game that had to be willed across Japan and Europe for a few Americans to enjoy it. Once players got their hands on the game, however, that honeymoon phase quickly melted away. To say that this game split the community would be an understatement. The stronger anime influence affecting both the aesthetic and narrative caused more divisiveness, as some felt it dumbed down the seriousness, style, and purpose of the franchise, while Xenoblade 3 tied up certain points of this game, changing some opinions for the better. There are still people who don't like 2, and I've seen some share their thoughts back then, and I would like to hear more from those who still dislike it now. The complaints back then were akin to saying, "The franchise is ruined, anime is not fit for games like this and Fire Emblem. Remember when Xenoblade had good, non-objectified characters?" Hyperbole aside, the damage had been done. And while this game is the best-selling in the series, reputation-wise, it has been stained by the criticisms and mockery of critics and fans alike. And to make this clear, I do not mean anything against people who dislike this game. I only have grievances with those who shame others for liking 2 for whatever reason. I bring all this up since seeing that situation unfold years ago actually kept me away from playing the games at first. The additional complaints of the gacha elements and some glitches didn't help either. But now, after reprints were made at long last, I was able to get my hands on a physical copy of it. I've put many hours into this game, over 100 hours in, and still haven't beaten the game as of writing this video. So the question is, do I like it? No, I love it. I'm having such a good time with Xenoblade 2. The beginning is slow, I'll admit that, but once the ball started rolling down the hill, things only got faster and more entertaining. The characters got more interesting, the story more compelling, and the gameplay is addictive. Now, I cannot break down everything here since there's a chance some people torn on the fence about this game might be watching, so I won't spoil any story stuff for you here, apart from a certain blonde's existence. But since Sakurai already did that for me, I assume you already know about her. Something that had me concerned was the more streamlined attacks and narrowed down options. In Xenoblade 1, most characters had a dozen skills to select from to encourage experimentation and keep players focused. But those different options helped fit your playstyle while making the most of your team's abilities, maximizing the most coverage and potential you could have on the battlefield if you took the time and effort to make it work. For example, having Shulk use break moves, and Rein having a topple to follow it up. Then both can use a daze attack to extend the stun on an enemy. But having other skills in between that strategy while it's on cooldown helps keep you engaged. In the sequel, all characters have 4 arts to choose from per weapon type, and only 3 are usable in battle, so selection is much more paramount. You probably want skills that have a break or topple effect, or the new launch and smash effects. but you might rather have an attack that keeps aggro on or off of you, or heals the team via potion drops or a spell. But what helps diversify combat are the blades themselves. In Xenoblade 1, elemental attacks actually were a thing. You just had to have a skill that used an element, like say, Melia summons or equipping the proper gem. The latter was not viable since you'd rather have that slot used for something else. Literally anything else. Now, all blades give you a default element to work with. Pyra is fire, while Dromark is water, for example. After using arts, you can use a blade art that hits an opponent with elemental effects. Using Pyra as an example, you can start with fire, then Nia can use Dromark to follow it up with water to create a steam bomb effect. But after afflicting the first element, you will always have branching options. Fire can chain into 2 more fires, but in this situation, because we used Dromark, we added water. From there, you can either use fire again or ice. But Tora has Earth to start on Poppy Alpha, so the question now is, where do you get an ice blade? This is where we get to a part I dislike, the gacha system. Everyone has complained about it, so I'll keep it brief. As you play the game, you will find core crystals, mainly common ones which typically yield normal blades. And they aren't bad, as some contain skills that can help you in combat or beyond, even if they're not up front directly. These include skills that not even the best blades of the game can get, so they absolutely have a place in your team. And you can always pull a rare blade with a common crystal. I've done it before. You mainly will want to use rare or legendary core crystals for hoping for 5-star blades. On that note, they aren't as random as you think, but you are still beholden to the luck of the draw. There is a pity system, but it has a limit. Once you get your 3 pity blades, you need your luck to help you pull the rest. And trust me, you will struggle trying to get them all. If you want certain elements, it depends on the character's traits. So Zeke would be the best at pulling light or dark blades since he tends to have a high justice stat, and light is actually the rarest type in the game. Mithra comes standard, but 2 are locked as DLC, and Poppy can only get a light core from the final chest of the final level of Tiger, so that's 4. And the only one you can pull has a 0.1% chance of spawning, so yeah, have fun with that. For example, my disdain of Fire Emblem Heroes gacha system runs much deeper than you think, so I don't think I want to go too deep with this for today. I think what would have made this more manageable is if you had the pity system continue past the 3 blades selected, just so you could theoretically grind it out. Sometimes you will get screwed out of getting a certain blade, but you can mitigate this with luck boosting items, but you gotta set that up beforehand. I can see a situation where this could be fun, as each playthrough can give you different blades to work with. For example, my first 5 stars were Aga and Perun. Someone else might get Percival and Ursula. Oh god, speaking of her, if you pull her late like I did, don't even bother finishing her quest. It's not possible unless you sink many hours into the game. I tried to push for it, but I did not make any progress in the story in Chapter 8 for reasons I won't get into. If you know, you know. But anyway, I gave up and settled on finishing it on a New Game Plus run. It'll be done a lot faster there, and it'll have the story to keep my attention while that's being worked on. I am using all of my willpower to not go into a 5-minute tangent on how that quest annoyed me beyond belief. Let's just finish this with some light touches on the story. If I told you this game was great at setting a first impression, you would probably call me a liar. The beginning does pose a hook, mainly with the sunken ship, but before and after feel like molasses. A very slow start makes it hard to get into this game, but once the story hits a certain point, it just never stops building momentum or intrigue. It just keeps adding more to keep you invested. While the combat system feels hollow at first, getting blades through your adventure also gives you a chance to see side stories with them as the focus. So if you ever need a break from the story, perhaps you could check out a 5-star blade story instead. When it comes to the main story itself, the cast is really well made. Well, except for one character.
but let's focus on the ones that matter more. Rex's determination and commitment to delivering on his promises and care for his friends is a trait, while cliché, is a very important aspect of his character. Some find it annoying, but if you played a game like Yakuza Like a Dragon, you might have noticed he and Ichiban carry that same vibe of being optimistic, loyal to friends, family, and community alike. And I think these traits are important, especially given how jaded our society, and myself if I'm being honest, have become these past few years. When I get to the retrospective, I definitely intend to exonerate Rex against the crap he was given pre-Xenoblade 3. But there is another character, or characters, who I feel are misjudged because of their infamous designs. That's right, I'm here to try and talk a little bit about Pyra and Mithra. These two get a lot of crap for their designs, and while I see what the artist was going for, what with the two pieces of a whole aspect, it still does look objectifying. Outside of that, I feel their characters are excellent. The subject of self-worth, depression, and certain other topics that I can't get into without hinting at late-game spoilers really sell these two as authentically struggling characters that has one forcing a smile and the other surrounding their heart in ice and having a defensive demeanor. If you were not sold on Pyra and Mithra, I implore you to pay attention to the story and you will see some great character arcs and backstories. I want to talk about the others, but if I am convincing anyone to pick up and play this game for the first time or even give it another shot, I'm stopping here. I think the low points do feel lower than anything the first game ever reached. However, the highs match or even surpass the original games. I'm not going to say which one is superior since that is subjective. And does it matter? Of course it does to some people. But to me, I see them as they are, pieces of a whole, and I enjoy them despite everything. I enjoy Xenoblade 2 despite the criticism, valid or not, the hate, and my own personal gripes. And I hope that you all do as well. It's a game I'm looking forward to playing again for New Game Plus, but also again when it's time to do a retrospective. That will not happen for a long time. Still, the journey is well worth the wait, and as the series proves, it can also be the reward. I learned that while learning to love Xenoblade Chronicles 2.